Here is a method that is helping architects design better flood-protected house entrances.
Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast to the protection against heavy rain and flooding by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe.
So the big challenge is, how can house owners like you and me get a flood-free home? How can business managers like you and me get a flood-free company? And how can public servants provide flood-free critical infrastructure and livable cities?
Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe. This podcast is for foresighted and proactive people who do not want to shovel the muddy water out of their room while standing in the midst of the disaster.
Therefore, those who design and plan, the architects and engineers, need to construct such buildings and cities, and that even when the entire environment is completely flooded. That is a challenge, and this podcast will give the answers.
Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe.
Yeah, and today indeed it is about architects. And I'm only a humble engineer, but I really appreciate the work of the architects because they make the world a better place. They design these beautiful buildings, and sometimes it's really breathtaking. That reminds me the time when I was in Doha, in Qatar, in Doha Education City, and also in the rest of Doha. These buildings are absolutely breathtaking. The best architects in the world came together and designed outstanding buildings. However, today the topic is not about these high-rise buildings. Today it is more about how to find the right design for a house entrance. And let's go back to a private house, like perhaps you own one, or the same for my house. So we all have a main entrance, and in case of flood protection, of course, the design is challenged. The architect is challenged to come up with a good design, but he will always say, "But do not touch my beautiful design," right? That is what normally architects tell. And dear architects, be honest with yourself. That is exactly what you answer when somebody wants to come in and tell you how to improve, how to change. To improve. You cannot improve your design. Right? That is what you will answer. But there are some things you can already consider at the beginning of your design. So then it is much easier for the homeowner later to execute what you have planned, and also or later, perhaps with a delay of some years, to come up with a flood protection. So you must not be afraid about changes in your designs, dear architects, and however, the flood barriers shall not vary your planning. I have understood exactly what you want to say with that. So the challenge first is the main entrance of a house. How can it be protected when in times of increasing threats of climate change, heavy rainfall, floods, small creeks are becoming dangerous rivers. What we see more and more, even here in my country, in Germany, where I am right now while I'm recording this podcast, there are some creeks from time to time. They are really they become a huge river, and they overflow, and then they flood the environment, and suddenly your main entrance of your beautiful house is under danger. So the challenge is to protect this main entrance. And what will the architects do? Normally they plan with doorsteps. Sometimes they come up with curved walls. Always nice to see, but a little bit complicated from an engineering point of view. Or some posts, beautiful posts at the left, at the right side. with a statue on top, perhaps, for design reasons. Architects also plan with electrical elements, of course. You need a doorbell, normally at least, light, a socket, a switch, cables. All things are like that, and they are attached to the wall and next to the entrance. And sometimes they are attached too close to an entrance in a way that you cannot install flood barriers anymore. So that brings me to the next question. What is important when it comes to a design for a main entrance of a house? What shall an architect consider? And what shall a house owner consider? Because at the end, you, the house owner, you are the boss of the whole project because it is your house. The architect shall only execute your dreams or make your dreams come true. So at the end, it's the owner of the building who takes the final decision. So what is important? What kind of flood protection technology shall be chosen? That is the first question. So I have in total, these are 5 sub-questions. What is important? That is number one is, what kind of flood protection technology shall be chosen? The architect should know that. Does he or she go for a portable solution? Portable solutions are these demountable flood barriers, that you can staple and attach to each other with a horizontal and vertical ceiling system. But portable barriers are also mobile flood barriers. These declined barriers that you can put, like this Inero mobile flood barrier that you can put in the middle of your garden or in the street. And all these demountable and portable flood barriers are mobile and demountable flood barriers are put together under portable flood barriers. And now while I'm saying that, I have a kind of noise here in my headphone. I hope you don't hear it on this recording. Sometimes, it is not only the big flood and the big climate change. We are fighting with sometimes the small electrical and IT problems, daily problems. I think you know what I'm talking about. And the next, besides the portable flood barriers, are flood doors or flood gates. These swing-hinged flood doors or swing-hinged flood gates, pivoting systems, and the third can be an automatic system. Why not going for an automatic system, especially for all those homeowners who are absent from time to time and who are afraid that nobody can install the barriers while they are in another country for business reasons, for vacation reasons. Perhaps they play golf somewhere. The Koreans always come to Clark in the Philippines to play golf. So in the meantime, who takes care about their house in Korea? And the fourth kind of flood protection technology are permanent installed barriers like glass barriers, but that is nothing what you will install in front of your door, of course. So portable flood barrier, flood doors or flood gates, an automatic system. These are the 3 options, and that has to be decided from the very beginning, because you need, that brings me to the second point, you need to decide about the distance of protection. That means in case of a single leaf door, the opening width is between 86, 1 meter, sometimes 1 meter 20, or you have a double swing door. That is a wider opening, of course, and it can be that at the left side and the right side there is still some space, or you have a glass element integrated into the wall, that suddenly the whole distance becomes 3 meters, and then you have to consider already a middle support for your flood barrier, or at least a back brace. Depending on the height, I know, but I just want to give you the idea what is important. What else? Distance, I said, with or without middle support or back brace. If yes, then you should think about the quality of the floor. Can you drill inside? perhaps you have a very beautiful marble floor, and then you will tell the flood experts, oh no, you are not allowed to drill inside. Yeah, so that should be considered as well as very important. What kind of floor do you choose, and what is the thickness of the floor? Because you need a certain depth for the anchoring system. Yeah, can be 250, 300 millimeters, depending on what you do. But there is a certain thickness. You cannot install an anchoring system for a middle support or for a back brace, and by using simple screws, very small, perhaps 2 centimeters long, that will never withstand the water pressure. So that is why we always consider Hilti threaded sleeves or friction welded anchoring systems, M16, M20 or M24, so the heavy duty stuff for your safety. The third question is what is important. Important is there enough space for the barrier? I mean, this question must be allowed. Is there enough space, or are other elements disturbing the installation of flood barriers? When it comes to a flood door, can you swing this flood door? What is the opening position? Is it 90 degrees or is it 180 degrees? So different questions that have to be answered at the beginning before the installation. So what is important? Question number 4, is there enough space for a demountable flood barrier as well? Can they be installed properly? In case of a middle support, will this middle support disturb when people go in and go out? Yeah. Why? No, you might say nobody is going in and going out when you have a flooded situation. Correct, but you install normally these barriers a little bit in advance. Some hours, some minutes, some hours. Some also install it already one day ahead, and they leave one section open that they can still walk through it. But the middle support is already installed. What else? The 5th question, functionality of the entrance. The door swing of the door, does it go to the inner side or to the outer side? Normally to the inner side for a main door of a house. How about a sliding door against insects? Very often in Asian countries you have these sliding doors, and more in Europe as well. But I've never seen that in Europe in front of a main door. Never. But in Asia, quite often you find these things, and then you have a sliding door, and this sliding door is of course disturbing the whole installation, because you must measure twice of the opening width of the door. When you slide the insect door to the left, then you can get into through your main door. So you have to calculate 1 meter of the opening width perhaps, and another 1 meter for the sliding door, and that must be covered by flood barriers. So if all is planned in advance, then it is quite easy to execute for the homeowner what the architect has done. And so the most important questions, again, I summarize it in short words for the architect. That is, what kind of flood protection technology shall be chosen? How about the distance, the distances, the dimensions, middle support, back brace, yes or no? Is there enough space for barriers? The functionality of the entrance, does the door swing goes to the inner side or to the outer side? And then one very important thing is when it comes to demountable flood barriers, you should already consider the storage area for the beams, for the aluminum beams. Very often that is forgotten, but the flood protection can only be as good as you also maintain your barriers. And for a good maintenance, absolutely mandatory, is a good storage system. storage area, so that the barriers are protected against sunlight, not the aluminium in themselves when it comes to the modular flood barriers, but the EPDM rubber, the base seal, for instance. So you will have a longer lifespan for that. So think about the storage area as well, and then the homeowner will love what the architect has designed. And by the way, nobody is disturbing and destroying any design of the architect, because you, as an architect, have already included everything what is necessary for a well-functioning flood barrier system. I wish and hope for you that you make the right decisions when it comes to your personal flood protection. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to this podcast channel if you haven't already. Now it only remains for me to wish you a good day. Do something with it. Maybe until the next podcast episode. I would be very happy. See you then. As always, stay safe and flood free. Your Andreas Klippe and the whole Flood Experts team.
That's it again with a new episode of Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood Andreas Klippe, German engineer, book author, and head of the Flood Experts. What can Dr. Flood Andreas Klippe protect for you? Anytime? Worldwide? Contact us or just click through to www.thefloodexperts.de/bonus. Detailed engineering, German quality, safe. Flood protection secrets. The secrets you'll want to unfold.
Don't forget, you're only one flood barrier away.
Subscribe to the season, and you'll never be late for an episode.